Guys, things are starting to get really interesting around the Miami Dolphins, and we need to talk about something that a lot of fans aren't paying enough attention to. Everyone talks about the big stars, but sometimes it's the players nobody expects who end up changing an entire season. And honestly, that could be exactly what's happening right now in Miami. Training camp is almost here, and two names are suddenly getting a lot of attention. One is fighting to become one of the most important backup offensive linemen on the roster. The other is trying to win one of the closest position battles on the entire team. These aren't the biggest names on the Dolphins, but don't be surprised if they become some of the biggest stories over the next few weeks. Now I want to hear from you. Which position do you think is more important for the Dolphins this season? Offensive line depth or having a reliable kicker? Leave your answer in the comments because I'm really curious to see what Dolphins fans think. And if you've been supporting the Miami Dolphins for more than 15 years, hit that like button as hard as you can. Let's see how many longtime Dolphins fans are watching today. Alright, let's talk about Jeremy Salyer and why so many people believe he could become one of Miami's most valuable hidden weapons this season. With training camp just around the corner, the spotlight naturally falls on the stars of the roster. But sometimes the biggest difference in an NFL season comes from the players who are waiting for their opportunity instead of the ones already locked into starting roles. That is exactly why there is growing attention around offensive lineman Jeremy Salyer and kicker Zane Gonzalez. According to the information available, both players have received positive recognition as potential contributors even though they are not expected to begin the year as starters. Jeremy Salyer may not receive the same headlines as Miami's biggest names, but his value could become obvious once the regular season begins. One of the biggest concerns surrounding the Dolphins over the last few years has been offensive line depth. Injuries happen every season, and teams that survive those difficult moments usually have reliable backups who can step into different positions without the entire offense falling apart. That versatility is exactly what makes Salyer such an interesting addition. Throughout his NFL career, he has appeared in dozens of games and started many of them, giving him valuable experience that many backup offensive linemen simply do not have. He has spent time playing left tackle and right guard, and his ability to handle multiple positions gives Miami flexibility whenever injuries or lineup changes become necessary. The biggest strength mentioned about Salyer is not necessarily that he should become a full-time starter. Instead, it is that he fits perfectly into the role of a dependable backup who can step in whenever needed. Every successful NFL team needs players like that. Coaches want someone they trust to play one game, 2 games, or even several weeks if injuries force changes. Having a player capable of filling multiple roles can make an enormous difference over the course of a long season. Another important point is that Salyer has shown better performances at tackle than at guard. That creates interesting possibilities for Miami if one of the tackles misses time. His flexibility allows the coaching staff to adjust the offensive line without completely rebuilding the unit from scratch. Those decisions will become much clearer once training camp and preseason games begin, but the competition for backup roles could become one of the most interesting battles on the roster. Depth is often overlooked until injuries strike. When that happens, fans quickly realize how valuable experienced backups really are. If Salyer performs well throughout camp, Miami could feel much more comfortable knowing they have someone capable of stepping into several different situations whenever necessary. That kind of security is difficult to find in today's NFL. The second player receiving attention is Zane Gonzalez, and his story may become one of the most fascinating competitions of the entire preseason. Miami enters camp with 2 veteran kickers competing for one roster spot. Riley Patterson and Zane Gonzalez both bring NFL experience, making this a genuine battle rather than a situation where one player is simply expected to win by default. Looking at their career numbers, each kicker offers different strengths. Riley Patterson has generally been more consistent across most kicking situations, while Zane Gonzalez has shown stronger success on kicks from beyond 50 yards. That creates an interesting question for the coaching staff. Would they rather have a kicker with greater long-distance ability, or one who has demonstrated steady consistency in the shorter and intermediate ranges? Patterson earned praise for his consistency, missing very few kicks during his opportunities last season. Gonzalez, meanwhile, brings plenty of experience and has proven he can contribute when called upon. Because the Dolphins now have new leadership involved with special teams, this competition begins with a relatively clean slate. Training camp performances and preseason games could ultimately determine who wins the job rather than past reputation alone. That makes every practice meaningful. Every field goal attempt, every extra point, and every preseason drive could influence the final decision. Coaches will be watching not only accuracy but also consistency, confidence, pressure situations, and reliability throughout camp. For Dolphins fans, these position battles may not receive the same attention as quarterback discussions or offensive playmakers, but championships are often influenced by the smallest details. A dependable backup offensive lineman can protect a season when injuries occur. A reliable kicker can decide close games in December. Those are the kinds of hidden factors that separate successful teams from disappointing ones. As training camp approaches, both Jeremy Salyer and Zane Gonzalez have an opportunity to prove they deserve significant roles. Neither player is guaranteed anything, but both have reasons to believe they can make valuable contributions if they continue performing well throughout camp and the preseason. As we get closer to the start of training camp, one thing is becoming very clear. The biggest stories are not always about the players everyone expects. Sometimes it's the guys fighting for backup roles, competing every single day, who end up making the difference when the season gets tough. That's exactly why the situations involving Jeremy Salyer and Zane Gonzalez deserve so much attention right now. For Salyer, this is a chance to prove that Miami made the right decision by bringing him in. The Dolphins know how important defensive line depth is over a long NFL season. Injuries happen, players miss games, and when those moments arrive, having someone who can step in without the offense completely falling apart becomes incredibly valuable. That's the opportunity sitting right in front of him. The same can be said for Zane Gonzalez. Every kick during training camp and every opportunity in the preseason will matter. There won't be many chances to separate himself, so every field goal, every extra point, and every practice session could influence the coaching staff's final decision. That's what makes this competition so exciting to follow. Neither player can afford to take a day off. What I like most about this situation is that nothing has been decided yet. These roster battles will be earned on the practice field, not through reputation. Every player has the chance to prove himself, and that's exactly what makes training camp one of the most exciting parts of the NFL calendar. Fans finally get to see who is ready to step up when the pressure starts building. The Dolphins have one goal this season, and that's putting together the strongest roster possible before Week 1 arrives. Every decision matters, whether it's choosing the right backup offensive lineman or deciding who will be responsible for making crucial kicks in close games. These may not be the flashiest headlines today, but they could become some of the biggest reasons Miami wins important football games later in the season. Now everything shifts to training camp. This is where expectations meet reality. This is where players earn trust, coaches make difficult decisions, and fans begin to get a real picture of what this team could look like once the regular season begins. We'll finally start getting answers to questions that have been building throughout the entire offseason. And now I want to hear from you, Dolphins fans. Which of these two players do you believe will have the bigger impact this season? Do you think Jeremy Salyer will become one of the most valuable depth pieces on the offensive line? Or do you believe Zane Gonzalez can win the kicking battle and hold onto that job throughout the year? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments because I read them all, and I always enjoy seeing the different opinions from Dolphins fans around the world. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss another Miami Dolphins update. Training camp is almost here, which means we're about to get new developments almost every day, and we'll be here covering all of it together. Thanks so much for watching, stay safe, and as always, fins up! Headlines today, but they could become some of the biggest reasons Miami wins important football games later in the season. Now everything shifts to training camp. This is where expectations meet reality. This is where players earn trust, coach